Hello everyone, an overview here, a game that came out today that is free, called Dagon by HP Lovecraft. Basically it's based on HP Lovecraft, you know, those things that talk about the CTHULHU, you know, there's many games that talk about that was that. So yeah, this game came out today, it's free, everyone can download. It's developed and published by BitGolem. And it's out already. This one that is a support pack DLC that costs €3.90. You can already go there and buy. If you want support like that, they can do more future projects. And there's this DLC that's not available yet. It's a 10-minute DLC that's supposed to come out this year on the fourth quarter, but it's supposed to be a 10-minute DLC. I don't know if it's going to be free or not. I don't know about that. But it's in the mind of a 7-year-old girl or something like that. I don't know if it's a girl or a kid. I don't know if it says what it is. A little bit mind at a 7-year-old. It's basically a kid. And then they have this one that's supposed to come out on December 1st. That is Tales of Herring Lake. That is developed by them but published by a different company, and I don't know if it's going to be free or if it's going to be paid. That is based upon them. So if they want to put to be paid, they can. But it looks cool too, like it's about fishing, but then like something weird happens. So look, from what I saw, the trailer looks cool. But yeah, but we are over here on Dagon. So it's a story-driven narrative game. You don't move, nothing like that, you only look with the mouse and interact with things. So Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focusing on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choice, action sequence or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. So you can see things to move and there's like facts to find out.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
During the game you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background and the author. So these like to progress and this one is like facts. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Scion. That's this Elder Scion, and this to focus, of course, the gamepad over here. You can also access all the fun facts later. They will be available in the menu. So I know there's 20 of them, but I wonder where you can. It's like I know that they can appear like it's like with that item, but I don't know if it's in every place that there is one, because I don't see any. I only see this that is to progress.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay, we have this that is to progress. Probably not right now you can find, because it's limited. See, I can't move more than this. Oh my god, there is one over here. Oh my god. Morphine. Oh, talking about morphine? Okay. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War. Of course, then the date. And World War. It was also sold without restriction until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Saturn, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as the soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Oh, a soldier's disease, that was the name. Huh. I wonder if you can find more than one in the same stage. Because there's 20, like, can it be more than one? I wonder.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Oh, where is it? Oh, you need to click. Oh, so it's not only the symbol, it appears when it's like this too. Oh, okay. Lovecraft and the Great War. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the war, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderably, might sustain me till a bullet or a piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. Letters to Reinhard Kleiner, H.P. Lovecraft. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the hills which unfit me for the army. I am Providence, the life and times of H.P. Lovecraft, S.T. Choshi. So he had some hills that prevent him to go to war, but he wanted to go, and it was his mother that prevented him. Interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. Like, I don't know anything about Lovecraft. I only know about the games that are inspired by his work.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation, so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Okay, this one there is this. The HUNS. The HUNS were Central Asian nobles who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick rage who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27 July 19, before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, you will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is for fate, just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under the King Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. This refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of laws and custom of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. But like I was saying, I don't know nothing about this life, of H.P. Lovecraft, nothing like that. I only know because of the games. Doesn't look like there's something else.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Like, I wonder if it could be like looking at the sky. Because in this one there isn't. That's what I'm saying, like, could it be like, or I'm blind, right? It could be that. But I wonder if some stages don't have it. Could be that too.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Okay, that's to advance. Probably there's nothing in here. I'm trying to see if I can find some artifacts because it's always cool to know, but it's not easy to find. They can be very well hidden, or I'm blind.
And for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Okay, that's to advance. Oh! The return to short stories. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduce an element from the CTHULHU mythos. Dagon itself, a pagan cult worshipping Dagon, later appears in the shadow over Innsmouth. There was a game like that had that name, Innsmouth. One of Lovecraft's most popular works. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Gervais Dudley, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and becomes obsessed with it. These two works mark Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. Whoa, really? So he wanted to go and focus on poetry and burn all the things that he was writing about these weird stories, and it was his friend that said to start again working on this weird fiction. It's interesting. Yeah, there is a bug. I don't know if it's a bug or if it is meant to be like that, because if you rotate, see, if I get over there, it always rotates immediately. Doesn't let you stay over there. Cool, that's cool to know about that over there.
Nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Of course, the octopus! The Cthulhu! Alright. There's nothing in here? Really? Huh. Really?
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
I thought that will be. Okay, that is the right way to go. How the hell there is nothing? Really? No way. There must be something. Oh, I knew there was something. It had to be. The origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fish Head, a short novel by Harvin S. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake, supernatural horror in literature. H.P. Lovecraft. And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that cover its surface. I dreamed that all idiots crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking me down. In defense of Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells, in his own words. I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what early experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. The Dweller in Darkness, Lovecraft, 1927, Donald Wandering. So he writes these stories, right? That's like things that are on the ocean, deep ocean, you know, things like that. And he hates fish and the sea. What the fuck? That's interesting. Nothing on Skype. Like he always thinks that there is this shit in there.
Into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might, nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Oh, cheers. I wonder if in here there will be something, because in this part you are like very strict. Oh, it's big. The mystery of volcanic islands. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them are transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating pumice, porous rock created when superheated pressure rock is ejected from a volcano, can move across long distance and transport barnacles and macroalgae at the cling to it. In 2001, rafts of pumice created during the eruption of a volcano near Tonga, Polynesia, eventually reached Australia. Well, there is a volcano that erupted recently, right? So that's still happening. So go to the fish.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
So that's the progress. There's not much space for you to see. The problem is that it's too dark, and probably there's nothing. Yeah, probably there's nothing. At least I can see it. Like being dark doesn't help too. Yeah, probably there isn't. I'm gonna give one more try, seeing. Thought it could be the tentacles. Nah, I don't see anything. I don't see anything.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
That's a big thing. Nothing. There's no way there is nothing in here. It's not that. How the hell is not that? At least I don't see anything like a color change, you know. Alright. Gonna give one more. Don't see it. Right. It's not easy to find all of them.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Is that bones? The fuck is this supposed to be? Seeing at my feet, I don't see anything. I thought it would be that thing over there. No. It's not even this thing, it is not surprised about this. Okay, go forward. Damn, that's a giant whale. Because like it say, it appears that that symbol, but probably in here there is nothing. It's supposed to not have nothing. Alright.
That night I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Aha. The horrors of the ocean, the creator of the CTHULHU mythos and the fictional underwater city of HUNS, was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure will make it unnatural. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet below the ocean surface in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the wonder thoughts of deep-sea creatures such as the anglerfish, the fungertooth and the viperfish and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. It's true, who knows what is in the deepest on the ocean. For now, I don't think we can pass more than this because of the pressure that there is in the ocean and the coldness that it is. But we never know what is in the deepest thing, in the deepest ocean. Like, you can imagine what the fuck is in there. Imagine the weirdest creatures that can be in there. But first, you need to pass, then those you need to create things that can handle that pressure.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance, an intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okay, this to progress. Oh, the rock. Okay. The loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive, his work would suffer from mumps. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias, and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe with an unnamed bed visible in the background and piles of paper scattered across the floor. Okay, well, that's always a way, right? It's always a way to not go with your friends and concentrate on things.
The unbroken monotony of the rolling plane was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Perpendicular. What a word. I don't think over here will be nothing, because it's only rocks, right? If it was something, it will be the moon or the sky. But I don't see anything.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
I don't see anything. I think it's only like to descend, nothing else.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Because it can't be the sky, because always it has to be always from the ground. Don't see anything. It's not on the stone. Can you look more? No. Okay.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
Dude, now there must be something for you to pick up, right? Let's progress. Because it's too dark, right? It's not that. It has to be near to the stone.
Despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
I think these still same. Alright.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Wait, really? Not the water? There's nothing in the water? Really? Huh. Okay. Thought there would be something in the water.
Was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Nice. Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters notes, the Shadow of Time, the Hunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythology may go in the Whisperer in the Darkness. It also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending. I think it won't have nothing else, like we already got one.
Visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seemed to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background, for one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe, some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
There's no way you can, okay, you need to progress. There's no way you can see other stuff.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
What the hell?
Vast, Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Oh, you can do nothing?
I think I went mad then.
Yeah, after watching
My
that.
frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Whoa. Probably there's nothing here.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's nothing for you to see now, because like it's in like this. And you can't move very much. It's like it's restricted in this one too.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Oh, it's like it's passing out. Okay. But I still think I didn't find a lot of
the
there.
shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Of course, we will believe about something about that. The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticism to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1917, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example, excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the Conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulse of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. True. Oh, another one. In defense of Dagon, in 1921, Lovecraft released a series of 3 essays, The Defense Reopens, The Defense Remains Open, and Final Words, later published as a collection titled In Defense of Dagon, in which he rebuked a series of criticisms directed at his work. Some notable quotes: "I paint what I dream, and will let the public settle the rest amongst themselves. Mr. Monday asks the raison d'etre of Dagon. I will give it, purely and simply to reproduce a mood. Its object is the simplest in all art, portrayal. The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unprecedented, hardly have a bearing of the entirely different realm of supernatural terror. Ghosts are still ghosts. The mind can get more thrills from unrealities than from realities." In the essays, Lovecraft touched upon the topic of atheism, materialism, the quest for truth and love, and the love of science. So there can be 2 or more in the same scene, and they can have different colors. Damn. I thought it would be always white. So probably I missed it because the color was different. God damn it.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Dagon, the fish god. Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The ruler of Kahat, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquest. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warden in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word Dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Looks like that's the way that we need to go. I don't think I see anything else.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
The marketer. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. From an ad for Curtis Woodworker embraced both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivance of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers, buffets, and cupboards. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship which an aesthetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost, considering the quality, is amazingly low, and the trademark on the individual piece prevents any substitution by careless contractors. Alright. August Derleth and the CTHULHU Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic. To the CTHULHU Mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term CTHULHU Mythos was coined by Derleth after the authors left the mortal plane. I think when they mean mortal plane, they mean when he died. Okay, doesn't look like there's nothing else. Oh, what now? Looks like we need to go over there. Okay, what else? But he doesn't speak. Oh, wait, but I didn't saw nothing over there. The scientist. These days the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author was in the story, critics pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted in defense of Dagon that if Dagon were to reprint it, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist, to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet, in the 19th and early 20th century, scientific research in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Among other things, it was gender-specific, indicate that science was unendowed to be pursued by only one sex. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. Alright, it's always cool to know. Interesting over here, there's nothing. Gonna be honest. That painting over there.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even thought he used it to smoke when he was 12, okay, in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. I wonder what it means with that, long pants, when he started being an adult, probably. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13 February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coerces the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect's imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition. The prohibition of any antisocial force as well as of any other. Okay. Let's see. Okay, doesn't look like there's anything else. I don't see nothing popping out.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat, after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols.
Whoa, look at that.
And carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Imagine this happening. Yeesh. Okay, is there something in here? Like, I don't think in here will have anything because you can't move too much. But I wonder. But that was a cool scene.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
I don't see nothing.
It shall not find me.
Oh, fuck.
God, that hand! The window! The window!
Window, okay. And he dies like that. Because he thinks that he's coming after him, so he panics and jumps through the window and dies. Alright. But it was pretty cool, like, of course, narrative, story-driven narrative, like you only move the mouse to try to find facts and to progress through the game. But it's pretty cool for a free game, like, they did a good job. Of course, now you have this one, support pack, if you want to support the developers for future projects, €3.90, and then the DLC that's supposed to come out on 4th quarter of this year. That's only 10 minutes, I wonder if it's going to be free or not. And then they will have that game that is supposed to come out on 7th 1st. But overall, pretty cool, like those facts, it's always interesting to know more about the story of Lovecraft, in case you don't know anything about him, and you only played games that were based on his work, like I did. It's always cool to know more about it, so yeah, they did a good job. It's cool, these short stories, yeah, like 40 minutes or something like that, but it's always cool to play games like this. And hey, if they decide to do more short stories like this, I think many people will appreciate. Like they did a good job. Like the voice acting was cool, the music when it has is good. That scene, that final scene of those monsters going to the city, pretty cool too. Graphic wise is well done. Like of course for my computer sometimes it was struggling here and there, but it was pretty good. So yeah, they did a good job. So if you like, you know, Lovecraft, you can download this game for free. It's already available. And you know, if you like it, leave a Steam review in there, you know, to help the developer to know what you thought of the game, and at the same time, you know, feedback for it. And then, if you want to support the developer, you can buy the support pack, and then the DLC when it comes out. I don't know if it's going to be free or not. You can play it. It's only 10 minutes. And then the future game that comes out in December 1st, if it doesn't get delayed, if it's to buy, you can always buy the game if you like what that game is going to be. Like it looks like it's going to be like mystery and fishing. So hope you guys enjoy here the playthrough of Dagon. Again, if you like it, if you like Lovecraft or you like what you saw, you can download the game for free on Steam. So hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.